What's up, everybody? Thank you for watching my reviews. I was supposed to have them up earlier, but I ran into some technical issues, and so I was going to do a live stream just to do a Q&A with these, and then we were going to have a plug stream, but I just decided to combine it all since I was running behind. So if you have any IQ Ruby or DNA questions, if you were just now watching this and missed my reviews, I just premiered them a few minutes ago, so you might want to check those out and then come back. Or if you just have any questions in general, ask away. I do have some, for those of you who watched the streams last weekend, I do have the Phase 2. I haven't done anything with it. I said we were going to have a stream on Wednesday, but I actually forgot that we went down to watch the PBA Wichita Open. We went down to watch qualifying on Wednesday. And so I did not get anything done as far as that goes, and so I just left it for this weekend. So quite a bit of the time I actually show mixing, pouring, prepping, whatever else, but I never really show cutting down, finishing, and, end result, finished product. What we're also going to do on this one is the person that it's going to has different finger pitches than I do. And so I'm going to start pitch plugging the fingers. We're not going to change the layout. I am going to go on ahead and plug this, or I'm going to go on ahead and cut this down, finish it, whatever else, and then I'm going to start pitch plugging the fingers. So that's a little bit of a different process. You'll get to see a little bit of everything because I have a few other balls to plug, a few different colors. This one should be fairly easy. This one's going to be a little bit more challenging. I think I can do black in that, and then this kind of white-ish, gold-ish silver is going to be a little tough, but we'll see what we need to do there. So once again, if you have any DNA IQ questions, I will take them as we get into doing this. My wife is wife/production team is getting on top of things here, so I'll try to catch up with the questions real quick. But first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut this down. So, yeet. Yep. Howdy. About to watch the reviews. It's choice of beverage tonight. I had some beverages earlier, so seeing as how I need to be functional in the morning, I'm having pineapple Spindrift. I had, let's see, what did I have earlier? I had a Boulevard Space Camper, and then I had a little bit of Nick Offerman Edition Lagavulin for a few different things at the opposite end of the spectrum. Yeah. I was going to show this earlier, but I got mugs. Where's the other one?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. See, I kind of have to stop doing the face cam thing since it adds like a day and 4 hours to the video process. That's why I haven't gotten a whole lot done the last couple weeks. And so I've had to refine my process and change some things. I did get mugs though, depending on how I felt about the ball. So, oh yeah, Kool-Aid, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, or I'm not really drinking the Kool-Aid. So, yep, so once again, pineapple Spindrift, I greatly prefer this. It's sparkling water, but it's got actual juice in it instead of just kind of being essenced or whatever. It's like, some of that sparkling water, it's like you're drinking water and they let you like sniff a lime or something. This actually tastes like what it's supposed to taste like. So how was it watching the PBA for a day? It was quite a bit of fun, especially since I kind of know a couple of them. I've gotten to know Stu Williams a little bit. I know Marshall Kent a little bit, AJ Chapman, and then the YouTube guys, Packy, Brad and Kyle. Brad Miller is from Kansas City, and so I got to chat with him a little bit. And I think that's it. But yeah, as we just kind of sat on one end, and as they filtered through, I got to talk to a few people, and it was kind of fun because Angel got her Belmo Sparkle signed, and I've talked to Belmo on occasion, just sending messages back and forth. He's been cool and sent me a few things about some of the Belmo ball videos that I've done.
Well, and there was one of them that I actually commented on. That I think it was the one that when you actually put the video or the picture of all of the Belmo balls, that there was like, oh yeah, I want that signed one day, and he's like, oh yeah, sure. So he'd actually commented, and I interacted with him. But yeah,
But it was kind of funny because we were down on the low end. Stu Williams started on 9 and 10, and so I chatted with him for a little bit, and then Belmo was on 11 and 12. So before they got started, Angel took the ball over and had him sign it. And he came over, he's like, wow, he kind of perked up. And he's like, that's really rare. And so he got through practice, and then like 2 or 3 frames of the first game, and then he walked over to us and he said, I think I finally put it together. He's like, she brought that ball over for me to sign. And I'm thinking the whole time, it's like, wow, that's really rare. How does one of these kind of exist anymore? Where do you find one? Where do you get one? And he kept kind of thinking about it, and then he looked over there and saw me, and he's watched the videos and sent me some stuff before, and he's like, it all makes sense now. So
Now you have to say it in the accent.
I can't remember exactly what he said, but something koala, something kangaroo, something. G'day, mate. I swear this is sparkling water. So, drinking the DNA Kool-Aid, it's really interesting. It's really, really interesting because James and I really can't get that deep with it, but it might be the best like second/third arrow ball ever. I mean, it's an absolute frickin' beast. And I just don't understand because it's supposed to be this big monster of an asymmetric ball, and it's not. But what it actually is ridiculous. A banquet a la Sensei Johnny. Yeah, I actually had to have a Coors banquet the other day. They have them at the bowling alley. And so I'm just like, I'm going to try something different. And I'm like, I got to have a Coors banquet. Send it to the internet. All right. As the Ruby compared to the IQ 30th anniversary, it's smoother. Like the IQ 30 was kind of clean and sharp, kind of angular, directional. The Ruby blends it a whole lot more, but I think the Ruby's actually stronger. Did you challenge Darren Tang? Darren Tang didn't have a whole lot of fun on the low end of the building, and so I just didn't say anything to Darren. The low end of the building at North Rock sucks. So if you guys look at the scores from last week, when you'd see people shooting like 240s, 250s, 300, whatever else, then you'd see them throw the 150s or whatever in there. That's when they were on the low end of the house. The fronts are so much down on the low end at North Rock. The fronts are really dry, but the back ends are tight. And so you have a little bit more of a defined track area up on the high end because that's where most of the league plays at. They have birthday parties, special events, whatever else on the low end. And so it's just, the bowlers bowl on the high end, and then the birthday parties, youth bowlers, whatever else bowl on the low end. And so the lanes have gotten broken in completely different. So again, it's super dry in the fronts, and then really tight down lane on the low end. And so that's why you'd see these big swings, and somebody'd go 240, 250, 160, 180, and then they'd start shooting big again. Completely different ends of the house. How do you like the Ruby for low rev woman bowler, far right player? I think it's going to be great. Angel likes it. Now, she does have a little bit higher rev rate than most women that kind of point it down the corner, but I think it's going to be great for that. Because it's going to roll strong and give you a little bit of pop, but it's not going to be like super strong. The problem that strokers have when they try to play right is that they get into something that's a little too strong that makes them, that won't get down the lane, and so they have to move in a little bit, but then all of a sudden their rev rate can't get the ball back up the hill or around the corner. The Ruby is going to let you still kind of play straighter and give you control in the mid lane and control down lane, but a little bit of length and pop. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. And this is the interesting part. So, well, it's all going to be interesting. You're watching me after all. So, we're going to see, and I know I heard that I got a lot of interesting comments on how close the color match was going to be, and we'll see. It does not come through the camera very well how blue this is, how purple this is, and what exactly the hell that is. So it will blend in. I can guarantee you it's going to be very hard to see, if nothing else. Once again, the rules of plug work are match it if you can, and if you can't, at least blend it in. So I'm going to use my 3-inch cutter for this. Hopefully this comes out well. I have not plugged anything in a year and a half probably, because we haven't had the materials. Hopefully this plug hasn't been sitting in a shipping container off of California for the last 2 years. Hopefully it's good to go, but we could run into problems just because I don't know the age of the material.
But it did set a little longer, so you've got a better shot, don't you?
I don't know. It really depends on the quality of the material.
Oh,
so we'll see.
okay.
Loud noises. All right, I didn't quite want to cut it down that far. Normally what you want to do is you want to leave, this is a pretty fresh bit, so it's just plowing through everything. Most of the time you want to leave just a little bit above the surface so that you can kind of shave the grain down, and by the time you actually get it off the resurfacing machine, it's even with the surface of the ball. If you just cut it all the way down, then you have to shave the grain off, and then you have to spend a little bit more time on the resurfacing machine to get everything perfectly round, smooth, whatever else. However, a good thing about a sharper bit is there's not near as much grain on the top to shave down, so I really just should have to smooth this off and put it on the machine for 10 minutes. It should be good to go. Especially if you have a duller bit, you're going to want to leave a little bit on the top, because you can see kind of the grainy kind of appearance of that. That's what happens most of the time if you get a plugged ball back and it has that grainy kind of look to it. They didn't spend enough time resurfacing it. And that's what happens most of the time, is they cut it down too far, and then it takes too long on the resurfacing machine. You have to grind the ball down too far, I guess, to get everything smooth. So either they cut it down too far, or they don't know how to prep it before they resurface it. So I'm going to show you how to do this now. There's a few kind of pro shop tips and tricks, I guess you'd say. Look, Ma, I can see myself. I actually never had to cut plug by hand with a router. I have been doing this for 15 or 20 years, but when I got into a shop in 2003 or 4, they had the tri-ovals and they had the router bits on the press, so I actually never had to use a router by hand. So first thing we're going to do is, there's a lot of people that'll leave this on here, but if you have kind of a duller side of, or a duller bevel knife, and if you scratch this at all, it really doesn't matter because it's going to go on the resurfacing machine anyway. The adhesive from the plug dam tends to really gum up the sanding discs on the resurfacing machine. So as much, if you can get this off to begin with, you don't gum up your, and see, I'm not really scratching this either because this is a duller side of the knife.
Can we just give them to James and let him break in the bevel knives?
Yeah, so this has definitely been Jamesed in, so. Oh, Urage. Used my Fate at Southwest last weekend. Yes, I'm definitely, the Fate and the Ruby, I think, are going to get a lot of action at Southwest. That's in Uri. We're going on the 19th and 20th, so 4 weeks. 4 weeks, another month or so. Mr. Smith. Question, why don't you use modeling clay for your plug dams? I think it's a dumb idea, personally. I mean, there's plenty of people that use it and they think it's fine. And there's nothing wrong with using modeling clay. I just think it's stupid. Because you can put the dams on there. All you have to do is peel the bottom off of it, slap it on there, and you're done. The modeling clay, you've got to sit there and screw with for a while. The moisture out of the clay can stain the ball. It's just very labor intensive and doesn't really accomplish anything that the dams can't get done. So I just don't understand why you would use modeling clay if you have the dams, or if you, yeah, why you would use modeling clay if you have the dams. So what we're going to do here is this grainy stuff. Some people use a razor blade, some people just use a bevel knife. But all I'm going to do, I'm going to take the sharp side of the blade now, and I'm just going to shave this stuff down. I'm going to shave it smooth. I'm not going to shave it flat. I'm going to shave it smooth because I don't want a flat spot on the ball. But I do want to shave the grain down so that I don't have to spend a bunch of time on the resurfacing machine trying to sand the grain down. This isn't going to take a whole lot of time. So it looks like, just on first glance, I got the plug a little dark, which again, I haven't done this for a while, so that's a little unfortunate, but it looked pretty close pouring it. However, this is a darker ball, so it's not going to matter that much. There's not as much color in here as there's not as much color in the plug as I thought that there was. The problem with these solid color balls, though, is that if you get them, there's a very delicate balance between them being too dark and too bright. I would rather have it too dark than too bright, so I erred on the side of don't make it an eyesore. Fortunately, it doesn't look like I have any air bubbles on top, so that's nice. So it looks like this plug is fine. Doesn't look like there's anything wrong with the material. So think I'm pretty close to getting all the grain down, or at least far enough, so I'm going to go on ahead and be a little bit gentler with this knife here. A little bit smoother, just kind of smooth it off. It's still nice and round. I haven't like just completely ground it down. All right, now I need to get onto the ball because I have extended the scraping, so I need to get onto the ball a little bit. Kind of see these edges here. I need to smooth off the edges of my prep a little bit. Also, fun fact, you can still kind of see the dust is getting collected onto the adhesive ring here. But as that happens, it makes it a whole lot easier to scrape off the ball. So I got most of it off to begin with. I'm going ahead and finish this, and then I'm going to get some fingernail polish remover. Sometimes, if you know the person or it's not that big of a deal, spot resurfacing is fine. However, if it's for a customer and you're sending it out the door, there are several things that I disagreed with my former boss on, but one of his rules was resurface. It doesn't matter if you're just plugging fingers or thumb. Everything that gets plugged gets resurfaced. That's something I wholeheartedly agree with. And if you're doing it for yourself, a friend, somebody who doesn't really care, somebody who doesn't want the surface of the ball changed, then sure, you spot resurface it. But especially if it's a full plug, just resurface everything. So, loud noises for a second. All right, so I'm gonna get some, where did that bottle go? She put it right, it's over here. So I think as you can see, it's gonna blend in once we get this done. It's a little dark. Let me get the stuff off. It's a little dark, but there's no way that you're gonna be able to see it once it's done. So yeah, I'm gonna go put it on the resurfacing machine. Once again, it's a little dark. That's a 7 out of 10 probably. But I'd rather have it be too dark than too bright. And it looks a whole lot worse on camera than it actually is. So we're gonna go put that on the resurfacing machine, and then once all that scratching isn't around the outside to perfectly kind of frame it, it's gonna look like a different story. So I'm gonna go put this on the machine, feels like that's smooth enough, and then we'll start plugging some other stuff. Oof. The IQ be a good step down with the Fate. Yeah, I did mention that. Even if it's a pitch plug, no. If it's a full plug to where you have to cut it down and finish it, then sure. But a pitch plug is just you're filling up to the top and drilling back out. So there's no reason to resurface that. All right, we'll leave that on for a bit and we'll start prepping some of these other ones. I have an old IQ Tour, not the one that I just drilled for the Ruby comparison. This is an older one that I'm done using. It's going to a friend, and so I do need to I was just going to leave it there because it's actually looking at the cage. I don't have to take the tape out of this to drill this slug out, but it's annoying. So it kind of can kind of gum up the bit. So I would just rather have it out.
He uses the diamond dust pads from Jayhawk on the resurfacing machine.
Exo falls at the very top on the cover stock chart. So according to them, it's their new strongest cover. According to testing, it's not close. Or it's not like it's not close, it's just not nearly as strong as you would assume it to be on paper. But strength is interesting because Microtrax, technically the cover on the gem is not in the top like 5 or even 10 of cover stock strengths, but it's like the strongest ball in the market because of how early and diggy that cover is. So like NEX is technically the strongest cover on their chart, but because it's so long and sharp, it doesn't act as early and diggy as some other stuff. I'm gonna drill this slug out first. And I'm gonna try to use the 1.25 inch bit. I don't want to make this hole any bigger than I have to be. If I was drilling back into it, it'd be a different story, but since I'm plugging and moving it, different story. I will just move this bit around a little bit if I have to. What size drill press is that? It's big. It's 6.5 feet tall. It is a top of the line Jayhawk Tri-Oval. James, do we have an update on the regional?
Did you fix your thing or did it fall?
No, I fixed it.
Oh, okay.
All right. Loud noises again. There's just a little tiny bit of slug, but I will finish that off when I get it off the press. That came out pretty clean. I'm pretty happy with that. Now the next thing is, it is absolutely imperative that you drill the bevel out of any hole that you plug. Unfortunately, I bevel the living crap out of my fingers, so it makes it real difficult to plug it back, but I can make it work because I'm smart. So, what we want to do here is I've got to find the right... That's perfect. Perfect. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to line these up first and drill out the inside of the hole, because you also want the inside of the hole fresh and so clean. Pros and cons to urethane and vinyl thumb slugs. 0 cons to urethane and all kinds of cons to vinyl thumb slugs. Vinyl slugs are the scourge of the planet. They never should have been invented. And I would say worse things about the vinyl slugs, but...
You don't want to get demonetized?
yeah, there's that. Vinyl thumb slugs are impossible. They're impossible to drill, they're impossible to finish. All they do is gum up and fall apart, and they're just awful.
And Chanel, I think, is the only one I know that uses them.
Well, vinyl sleeves are a different story. Vinyl slugs are terrible. Vinyl sleeves are pretty bad too, but they're just not near as bad as... So what I'm doing here is I'm using a slightly bigger bit, because I just want to freshen up the inside of this hole, because you don't want glue, dirt, whatever else. You want the side of the hole as fresh as possible so that there's no barrier to the plug bonding with the hole. Loud noises. Keegan, what's up, dude? How's the Ruby on a scale of strength of 10 compared to the Emerald? It's identical to the Emerald. It's a little long. It's a little sharper. But as far as like strength, it's right on top of it. There's virtually 0 difference. Yeah, my old PSO gave me a vinyl slug, and I hated it so much I made him give me a Thane slug. Yeah, vinyl's terrible. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, vinyl sleeve. Yeah, and even then, vinyl sleeves. Like, we were getting done using those a long time ago too. All right, so the inside of the hole's all freshened up, and because, so I have kind of a with the bevel that I put in these fingers. There's kind of a narrow bridge, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the pitch. Because all I'm really looking for is to drill the bevel out. I don't need to drill all the way down. So I'm going to make sure that the holes are pitched away from each other. So I'm going to go 3/4 left and 3/4 right when I drill this bevel out. So the bridge is going to be a touch thin, but it's not going to be that bad. And especially once I get the plug in there. Thankfully, I only have to use 1.25 bit. However, that's pretty big for fingers. However, again, I also do weird things. So, now when I drill bevel out, I like getting through the cover stock. It's probably just a pet peeve of mine, but I feel like it just, I don't know, for whatever reason, I just feel like it's the right thing to do. I may not need to go all the way through the cover stock, but I just like to. So there I've drilled the bevel out, getting ready to drill the bevel out of that hole. As you can see, that bridge is going to be tiny, but again, that's why I'm pitching the holes away from each other so that I'm not drilling back into the stuff. Why is this short again? I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to go to my regular pitches first. Drill out, oh, it's done. So actually I'm going to go get the phase 2 off the machine first, or actually I'm going to go see if it's ready to come off the machine yet. Boy, it's really bright. Yeah, God. Okay. That's helpful too. So yeah, I haven't plugged something in a while, and naturally this thing is all like super bright now coming off the machine, so it makes it look even worse. Yeah, I mean, it looks like I just black plugged this thing. So 2 of 10 would not bang. The finish is going to be immaculate, but the color match is not a thing. Yeah, it just looks like I put black in there, so that's unfortunate. I have redone these in the past. Like sometimes if I don't like the way that it comes out, and this is going to a buddy, you're never going to be able to, unless you're looking for it, you're not going to be able to find it. And this is going to a buddy, well, actually this is getting drilled right back out. So.
I was going to say, I was thinking his span's just different. So.
Yeah, so the vast majority of this is getting drilled back out. I forgot about that. So there's just going to be like a little sliver. There might even not even be that. There might be like a little sliver, half moon, quarter moon.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is unfortunate. Because you guys all saw how I spent all that time color matching last time and mixing crap, and it looks like I just black plugged it. So maybe there is something wrong with this plug. Maybe I'm defective.
Well, luckily you get 2 more tries here.
It's
now.
probably the plug because I'm really good at this.
Most people.
Yeah, I've got several more balls to screw up. Can you make this taller again and kind of like,
Yeah.
so nobody can see anything?
Well,
Yeah, God, I go on about prattling about how good I am at this plug mixing thing and sharing all those pictures, and then yeah, spent 20 minutes mixing this plug and matching it and whatever else, and it comes out black. That's amazing. course, it happens to every shop operator. If you've ever done color mixing before, there's sometimes where you think you nail something, and then it just goes so far south that it doesn't make any sense. It just ends up majorly sucking for absolutely no reason. It pisses you off, you're all proud of it and whatever else, and it just sucks. So, I mean, it's not like it's never happened before. I know, excuses, excuses. Just a terrible patch pirate. Should be ashamed of myself. Lying to all these people on the YouTubes and
If you can't tell, he's being massive and
talking.
sarcastic.
Oh yeah. So bad.
James gave an update. Riley 225, game 6, now at plus 65. Currently inside the cut number for tomorrow. Should be good for bonus bowling as long as he doesn't poop the bed. Game 7 and 8.
Interesting. I saw some 240s, 260s, whatever else, so I guess that's not like a normal thing or a consistent thing. I saw the cut numbers, or the numbers from this morning weren't great, or this afternoon, I guess. Plus, like 100 was solidly inside the cut line. So, all right. Loud noises. That all freshened up. It's again 3/4 so that the holes are angled away from each other. So even though the bridge is a little narrower on top, it's still going to be, you know, a solid 1/8 of an inch thick and thicker as it gets down close to the bottom of the hole. Have 7 zillion lights on this thing and still not be able to see anything. Okay. Perfect. Up close and personal look at my ear. Got some pretty epic earrings. Yep, can't perform when the camera's on. Yep. Yeah, basically what I have to do is just just do this a million times until I luck out once and tisk tisk. When you drill out that old slug, do you have to have the customer pitches, or you just drill out? You have to have the pitches. James answered that, but you also have pitch gauges that even if you don't know what the pitches are, you can use a gauge and figure it out. Revenant is earlier and rounder for me than the Ruby. Yeah, the Revenant's got a stronger cover. Do you ever use step 2 with sheepskin pads on the resurfacing machine? I want to get some of those because I don't like the grain or the direction. It's a whole lot more consistent surface if you do it on the machine, and so I do want to get some of those pads so that I can do it on the machine rather than doing it on the spinner. Yep. Yeah. Hated when I would color mix and think it looked good only to find out it wasn't as good as I thought. Yeah, if this, I would leave. If this was mine, I'd leave it because it's so dark that you're just never going to be. It's not like it stands out when it's rolling down the lane or anything. It's unfortunate and not very good. It's kind of annoying. Do you ever mill out both fingers and make one big oval? I have before. If it does, if it's too close, or if I feel like that's going to be a weak spot or something else, then yes, I have done that before. Or if it's cracked while I've been drilling the bevel out, then yes, I go on ahead and do it. In this case, I would rather have the separation between the holes, if at all possible, because then that limits the amount of plug that's all together in one place. Because if I can, even though I'm going to be plugging this as, you know, two holes together, it's basically like one normal size, two normal size holes next to each other rather than one gigantic hole, which I'm going to have to plug in 2 or 3 stages, and which is going to be a much bigger risk for cracking, whatever else. And so if at all possible, I want to drill the bevel out, leave the fingers intact. I don't want them to connect whatsoever. There is always a danger of that when I drill out the bevel on my stuff, especially the fingers. But that's why I try to go with like a 3/8 bridge, so I leave myself room. If I went with a normal 1/4 inch bridge, then yeah, there's no prayer. This works, but we should be okay. All right, we are done with this ball for the most part. So that's a look. See how the holes are nice and fresh now. I've cut all the bevel out. That just is. So, man, this thing's all beat up. I used the hell out of this thing. Bond to the ball. So we're I'm gonna move this off the press for a minute because I've still got one more ball to drill the bevel out of. This was my father-in-law's mix, and he doesn't bowl anymore. So it's getting rehomed. He didn't use it a whole lot. And if it's for anybody else, I do still bevel the top of the holes somewhat because it prevents the ball from cracking. If you have, you should bevel the holes a decent amount. Not a ton, but you do want some bevel at the top of the hole because when it hits something, when it hits anything back in the pit, if it's a sharp hole, the sharper the hole is, the more chance, the weaker it is, the more chance that something can gouge it, start a crack there. We call those stress risers in the bridge inspection world. This is all gonna get drilled out anyway, but. All right. Puppy chow. So this will be significantly easier to mess with. Might even, that's probably, yeah, that's not quite enough. I'm gonna need the, but, oh, no. Oh, yeah, I forgot. So I'm gonna need the inch and an eighth bit. All right, so I gotta figure out what these are now. It's an eighth and 5/8. Pitch gauge, double checking my pitches. Yep, it's an eighth, and yep, 5/8.
You have his joystick up there too, if you preferred.
Yeah, I know, but it was just quicker to do this than try to dig in there and looking for stuff.
Okay.
And then the forward reverse doesn't really matter, but I'm assuming he's got an eighth, so it's just the side to side pitches matter when I'm alright, that's pretty well spot on. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna buzz that. That's gonna make, it's too big of a difference between an inch and a 32nd and an inch and an eighth, believe it or not. I don't have any of the bit sizes in between that, so I'm gonna buzz the whole, actually, I'm gonna go ahead and do this. So now I wanna figure out what the forward reverse is. One eighth, yeah, like I thought. Eighth and actually, that's just not even gonna. No, we'll get some. Yeah, we'll get something out. This one I'm going to take to 500 now. Actually, it doesn't need to go that far. Yeah, welcome for the DNA vid. Yeah, the Jayhawk Ovalmatic jig on the mill. Makes the ball be at a 0. To cut down a thumb, I need to move the table forward so I don't cut into the ball. If is this something you have experienced? No, but every once in a while the digitals do get a little off. It'll be like a couple thousandths or something. I don't need to really move it that much. So yeah, I do not have that issue. I don't know where the Oreo mix is going. Is it going to Timmy?
No, Derek.
Oh, Derek, okay.
He does not have a spare ball right now.
Yeah, I know. I think Stormby 28's right. I think the Emerald's earlier and stands up quicker personally. It doesn't set, it settles into the pocket more. It kind of gets to the spot. The Ruby shapes almost like a vibe. It's almost like an ocean vibe, cherry vibe, whatever else. It kind of shapes like that, where the Emerald gets to the pocket and kind of sits. It doesn't really pick up and drive like the Ruby does. So there are slight shape differences on the back. It doesn't, and I would say unless you average 220 or 230, and even if you do average 220 or 230 and are clueless, it's not really going to matter that much, but you will notice a difference. I would think that on shots that you might leave a flat 10 with the Emerald, the Ruby will pull up, but on shots that you might leave a 4-pin with the Ruby, the Emerald will sit there. So there is a little bit of a trade-off, a little bit of a difference. Ultimately, it's fairly marginal though. Oh yeah, I forgot his middle finger is bigger than his ring finger, so I use a different size bit. So this will actually work on this finger.
I didn't really think that colors mattered so much until the phase and seeing the difference between the Crayola and the Phase 4 and the Phase 5. It was just wild to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew they mattered, but it's just to see that much. And part of it, I think, might be just the visual colors, too. Like, it just visually looks different when you see different colors.
Holy crap, dude. Kiwi Jerome Phillips, thanks, man. That's a crap load of money. Appreciate it. If you got any question or anything, go ahead and fire away. Yeah, Phase 4 and Phase 5 are totally different balls. The Phase 4 is so much chuggier, it's so early and forward and super chuggy, and then the Phase 5 just kind of, it's like a slightly stronger trend. My man coming through. Hope that wasn't I mean, ultimately, I can't give it back to you, so if it was like a fat finger moment or something, sorry. But I'm going to just assume that you did it right, so I appreciate you looking out. This is a labor of love. I might be able to get away with the smaller bit. This is a labor of love. It is quite expensive and time consuming and whatever else. Nope, can't get away with a smaller bit. So every little bit helps. Everything helps. Just watching, liking, and leaving a comment on the video helps. So anything above and beyond that is freaking sweet. So, yep. Thanks a bunch. I really appreciate it. All right. Same thing here. I guess I'm lining this up, but I need to go a little bit further. Should be far enough away. 750 and 750 and then 750 and 3. So yeah, I want to go further. Man, we're going to go all the way above and beyond here. These are
to infinity and beyond.
Yeah. To insanity and beyond, maybe. This press will never see this pitch again. I think I already lined it up. No, yeah, we're good. Ah, it's awful close. Gotta make sure we get all the bevel out of this. Loud noises. All right, once again, this is much desirable having two separate holes as opposed to one larger hole, because any kind of separation that you can get between this definitely alleviates a large cracking risk, because the stuff gets, you mix it, it gets hot. Now the Thunder plug is by far and away the best stuff I've used. I think the Motiv HD is next, but it gets too hot, it cures too hard, more prone to cracking because it gets so hot. And so it gets hot, it expands, and it, as it cools, you know, it hardens, it cools. So that's bad. Okay. So as things cool, they shrink, and we don't want any shrinkage in our plug because that makes it crack. Let's see what kind of bit, that'll take it.
Are you good if I go do some more stuff? Good. Okay.
Still see a lot of Zens being used, or people moving. Nah, they're still using a lot of Zens. I see those all over the place. The other ones haven't really caught on. I see a few Masters, a few Souls. I don't see hardly any Phase 5s. I see a few Fates. I don't see any Cosmoses, unfortunately, or fortunately for me, because they're going to get discontinued because nobody's using them and nobody wants them, and so I'll be able to get them all cheap. I used to kind of get upset at people for, you know, if it's good, buy it so that it stays in production so that I can get more of them. But now, after I saw I made bank on the promotions, it's like, you know what, y'all? Just hate something. If I like it, just hate it. because then it'll go away and I'll be able to get them super cheap. Quarter reverse, eighth right. All right, good shape. This is the not so fun and exciting part of this. Once we get into the color mixing, it's a whole lot more exciting, but this is why a lot of people just would rather plug stuff, because I've spent a whole lot of time just drilling a few things out here. It's not terribly fun, but if you don't drill the bevel out, then what you end up with is that kind of cracky, thin look around the outside of the hole. It doesn't finish well, it doesn't cut well, it's more prone to cracking, chipping back out, whatever. All right, done with that nonsense. Now we get to the fun part, the part that I can screw up again. The IQ shouldn't be bad, because even if I plug it black, nobody's going to notice. I will try to plug it correctly or match it, but solid colors are the devil. All right. All right, drilling's the best part. Well, yeah, the drill is fine. The I don't like doing plug so much. Is that going to help, or is that going to be a problem? All right, so I need to buzz out the thumb hole on the IQ here a little bit, just to get some of the dirt, and then I need to buzz down in this thumb hole, and I need to buzz down in this finger hole a little bit. So a little bit of loud noise here for a second. Gonna be careful to not buzz anything at the top of the hole because I do not want any bevel at all near the top of the hole. So I've got, all the holes are really clean now. So that's important. I'm gonna go ahead and take the grips out of this phase 2. So I can start pitch plugging. And with the amount of bevel that I have in these holes, I'm gonna have to do the holes one at a time. If you're doing them for yourself, it probably, because the only difference, I've got the same left to right, but the only difference is like an eighth. I've got an eighth reverse and he's got 0 forward or reverse, so I really probably don't need to, oh, I can save those. Sweet. A little wet, but all right. 43. It's a good thing about being good at this is most people, when they have to take grips out, they have to obliterate them. Mine, I could just, they never come out on their own, and I could just pull them right back out and use them on another ball if I get rid of something. All right, that's got to get the water and nonsense buzzed out of it. These holes are still a little too wet from the resurfacing. So we're gonna leave them alone for a minute because yeah, there's a bunch of junk and crap at the bottom. I'm gonna have to get some, yeah, that's not gonna be ready to plug for a minute. What I'm gonna do on this is because of the size of this hole on the IQ Tour, I am going to plug it halfway, but so I'm going to plug it in 2 stages because I don't want to plug all that at the same time. So I'm going to plug it halfway up, and then I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the phase 2. I'm going to plug it halfway up, drill the gloss off the top, and then drill back down again. I can use it as an opportunity to test the color matching for either or. I am going to attempt this one because there's an actual thumb hole in there. I'm going to be able to one-shot this thing. I'm not worried about that. If it was the bigger size all the way down, I would have a bigger problem with that. Or what I might do is just fill this up most of the way and then put a little, because this is more than 1 pump a piece. That's going to be stretching me on my plug limits. So I'll probably fill this halfway up, most of the way up, and then pour the excess down in the bottom of this hole, and then I'll have somewhere to start with later. Now, this is just going to get black because that's right in the middle of black. This is going to be significantly more interesting. So I'm probably going to try to color match that because this, nobody cares. That, it's, the fingers are going right back down in there. Nobody cares about that. And black's easy to do. So we're going to play around with this silver nonsense. So for everybody playing at home, this kind of dirty looking silver, That's actually gold. So that's gold powder, gold coloring, whatever else. But there's plenty of silver, plenty of gold, and it's a little streaky, but this is mostly that color. So if I put black in, if I streak black in there, it's going to mess it up. And so I'm probably just going to try to do that color, that specific color.
And Riley's bowling. He doesn't get to play his favorite game.
Yeah, oh, this one's kind of easy. The execution on this is probably going to suck because I hate Storm's silvers. This dirty gold, silver, whatever the crap this is, Altered Reality, Zen, whatever else, impossible to plug. Impossible. So, all right. Okay, so that's already primed. That's good. All right. Stick. And I use Motive Silver and Gold because it's the best. And about out of that, and I haven't used this in so long, this is kind of hardened up, so.
Oh.
We'll see. Well, yeah, I mean, this is natural. This is normal.
Well, yeah, the gold I expected, but...
Yeah, the gold will actually let go. The silver cakes up a little bit more.
Can you get the top off and use one of your sticks? Will it help?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, stick a coat hanger down there and...
Somebody mentioned something about, oh gosh, what did they put in it? Was it eye drops?
I don't know. Well, I'm almost done with this. I'm almost done with this silver anyway, so.
Do I need to get another bottle or?
No, I've got a whole nother bottle over here. It's just I'm still
Okay.
on the last little bit of this
Okay.
current bottle of silver that I'm using. So,
Gotcha.
all right. So we're just going to start with silver. It's going to get a fair bit of silver, a little bit of gold. And we will see where we're at here. This is going to be too bright, so I'm going to have to darken it a little bit. That's way too much gold. This new plug still smells weird. Yeah, we might just have to ditch that right now. That's way too much gold. Actually, sometimes adding a little bit of, if you get the color mixture off sometimes and you feel like, yeah, I just have to start over, save it, because sometimes you're in between tints. This dye is very, very, very ridiculously concentrated. So sometimes if you make a lighter mixture in another cup and you add some of that mixture to here, you very, very slowly add the tint or the dye. And it's a whole lot easier than trying to manage like drops of stuff or trying to put a half drop in there, trying to screw around with that. So all right, so I think that this almost might just be, I'm not even sure that there's any gold in there now. I think it's just silver, a light silver that's just got a little bit of the, when it mixes or swirls with the black, I think that that's what's kind of creating that dirty look or effect. See, this is too bright. If I put any black in this at all, it's going to go straight south. I do need more silver in it though, because it's got to have that, you know, otherwise it's going to be too thin. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of black in this other mixture and then add a very small amount of this other mixture. Because what I'm going to show you here, I see black. Okay, Vice Black. Adding even 1 drop to this stuff. Adding 1 drop to this stuff. Makes it go south really quick. So I want a little bit of black. I don't want this much black. This looks like Timeless now. So I mean, that's not what I want at all. However, I also don't want this white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put just a little drop of this other mixture in here. So I'm not putting black tint in here, so I can control the color a whole lot better. So I can use a little bit of this other mixture to very slowly adjust or kind of dirty the plug that I'm working with up. So see, I put a few drops in there and it hasn't really gone anywhere, which is fine. But since I've got gold and black in this other mixture, this works a whole lot better. I will just slowly add it. Getting a little bit darker, but it's still too bright. I think I am on the right track though. A little bit bigger swizzle stick. So that's where we're at right now. Slowly getting dirtier. And we might have some. It's still a little too bright. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. See, it's not quite dirty enough. It's still a little too clean, so to speak, but I'm getting there. I think I'm definitely on the right track. But I think you can see that when you go to add the tint, it can change the mixture so fast, especially if you're dealing with a smaller amount. Like if you're mixing, 3 pumps a piece or something, when you're just doing like a regular amount of plug, the tints can change things so fast that it can be really difficult. You can keep going back and forth. It's like, well, I got to add a drop of this. Well, now it's too far this way, so I got to add a drop of this. It's too far that way. So now you got to add 2 or 3 drops of one and then 2 of the other, and or one or two of the other, and it just, you run into a problem. So now I think, well, no, I can still keep using this stuff and getting dirtier. I think I've got the tone about right. Possibly. And this will cure a little darker. How does Motive Polish compare to Step 2? My local pro shop only uses Motive Polish. I really don't know.
Do you need more of those sticks?
No, plenty of sticks.
I couldn't remember how big of
All
a
right,
pack.
we're getting dirtier. We're getting close. This is still just a little too bright. However, once I get it in there, it's going to look darker in there. When we talked about this the other day, and I think that this was the problem that I had with the Phase 2, is that it looked fine in the cup, and then even when I got it out and put it on the paper towel, it looked fine, but then as soon as I pour it and it gets in there, it's too dark. So the rule of thumb is always pour it a little bit lighter, but at the same time, it's a very fine balance. You can get into trouble really quickly. Still need a little bit more dirt. Unfortunately enough, I mean, I don't really have the time to do this, but I've got more time than most pro shop operators do. So I can kind of play around with this stuff a little bit longer. I might have added just a little bit too much silver off the rip. And I think that this is actually real. I think this is right on top of it because it looks a little too bright. So I think that I'm probably good to go. I might just go ahead and pour these fingers because I really like where I'm at right now. So that way, if I ruin them, I've got more time to fix them. Because the thumb, it's just black. So I need the most time with the fingers. Just need a little bit dirtier, but I think this is going to be.
Could you even just like take that stick and stir it?
Yeah, but then I don't want to stick it back in the.
Oh, okay.
Yep, I think I'm going to add a couple more pumps to this. I'm just going to go on ahead and pour these fingers. Oop. Oops, that's busted.
Someone asked, what about adding a little yellow to it? Kind of has a yellow tint or tone.
Yeah, it does have a yellow tint or tone, but that's where the gold comes in because it's kind of a dirty. Again, it does have a yellow tone. You're definitely reading that correctly, but I see that more as gold.
Because of the shimmery.
Rotate. Yeah, so I want it shimmery, but if I add a little bit of yellow to it, then it's probably going to go a little bit too far. So I want to do that with gold, because I believe that's what that color is. But
They make the balls so pretty, and then you can't do it. Like, you it almost makes you have to buy a new one.
yeah, all right. Oh, balls I need to. All right, that'll work. Plug dam. Okay, that actually fits really well, so. Perfect. Yeah, I don't know why anybody would use putty when you can just do this.
Somebody mentioned the cost of it, but I'm thinking the time it takes to do it.
There's no.
is-
Well, what cost?
I don't know.
And again, anybody that orders both oval dams and round dams, you deserve to lose your money. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. But there's no reason to buy both oval and round dams. Dumb. All right. And then what I'm going to do now is probably pour a little bit of that mixture in here now that I've got more material to work with. The problem with adding yellow is it's going to make it kind of a bright yellow. And I'll probably show you what I mean as soon as I'm done pouring this, because I am going to have some left over in this cup, so I can show you what I'm talking about. So what I'm going to do, pour a little of this mixture. That got it dirty like I wanted, but it's still not quite, it's a little too white. White and black, I agree, it does need that kind of yellowish tint to it. So I'm just going to add one single drop of gold, because I added way too much the other time. That might have done it there. I just added too much the other time. I thought that there was a whole lot more gold in there than there actually was. So this is what we're working with now. Can you come over here and run the camera?
Yep. Where do you want me?
Just taking a look at the plug.
Okay. Just tilt it down a little more and raise it up.
Yeah, just go ahead. Yeah, put it right on top of everything. On top of the cup. So, yeah, back it up a little bit so that they can see the ball and the cup at the same time. So this is what we're working with. I think that's pretty close. But I did add that one drop of gold to kind of dirty yellow it up. I don't know if that's what we're working with. I think that's pretty close. Yeah, that doesn't help. So, yeah, that's what we're working with. I think I'm going to go ahead and pour that because it's just a little too bright. So, all right. I think it might need to be just a hair bit more. God, if I put another drop of gold in there, I'm really going to regret it. Hopefully this darkens once I pour it. I think that's perfect. I really do. I think that's great, because if I get any dirtier, it's going to be too dark, and I don't want it too dark. But I also don't want it too light. But I think this is, once I get it in there, I think that's pretty solid.
Is it usually when you have this silver that it cures brighter?
No, the silver is really tough because, again, it's still kind of clear, and I kind of want to leave it that way because this does have kind of a clear. If you put too much silver in there, it can get too bright. And so I want this to kind of be affected by the ball around it. So I'm just going to pour it. I think it looks fine.
Well, like you said, you're giving yourself enough time to be able to redo it.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to back up a little bit. Gotta make sure that this is level. And again, we overfill holes because the ball is round. And you'll see, again, I'll show you this when we do the pitch plugging. Because I'm going to overfill it, and then when it cures, it's going to be sunken down a little bit. Do you think it matters what bowling staff the pro shop operator is on when it comes to the layout of a bowling ball they can't throw? No. Core numbers and stuff is fairly, core numbers are fairly universal, and pro shop people, even if they don't actually throw a ball, they still generally understand what that ball is supposed to do and what the purpose of it is. Let me make sure that, okay, I think that light's just faking me out a little bit.
Did you do your paper towel test?
No, that didn't work last time.
Okay.
Is that silver? Yeah, we're good. All right, we're gonna pour. And the unfortunate thing is I might get some so-called rings of death here. Because when you do pearlescent mixes like this, it's a place where the light kind of refracts or whatever against because the sides of the holes are darker. And since this is kind of clear-ish, anytime you have a break, seam, joint, whatever else, it's just naturally going to refract the light around it and cause a problem. So I think that the rings of, some people have said if you let the mixture sit a little bit, it's not quite as bad. So that looks a little bright right there. However, when I cut it down, yeah, let me turn the lights off. Turn all the lights off. Yeah. There we go. How's that look? See, it looks a little bright, but I wanted it to. So I think that once that gets done, we're going to have small rings around the outsides of the hole, just because that's kind of natural and normal. But if we back it out, that's going to look pretty good. Because again, this nonsense, that nonsense. Go back to that. That looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and beat some of the bubbles out of it, but I didn't really, with this new stirring method I use, or with these new stirring sticks, and this stuff, generally the bubbles, any bubbles come out of this pretty good. Now there might be some, because the inside of this was pretty porous, there might be some bubbles. That's why I don't necessarily like to pour it thicker, because if you wait for it to set up, the bubbles don't want to come to the top as easily. And with as porous as the inside of this ball is, I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Yeah, I can't really. All right, tilt it up. See how porous the inside of that ball is? That's going to trap air bubbles like crazy. So by pouring it thinner or pouring it quicker while it's still warm, rather than waiting for it to set up or letting it set up, that's going to allow the air bubbles to come out the easiest. But because I didn't really have any air bubbles to begin with, I think we're fine. There's a couple little ones that you can see right there, but they are on top. Those will just get cut off. So I think we're in good hands with Allstate. All right. Now I'm going to put this somewhere where I'm not going to drop a towel on it again and screw it up. The easiest way to do this, I've been thinking about trying to like invent a vibrating plate for plug or something that doesn't cost $1 million. But if you have it vibrating from the bottom, it's really not going to help up here. So it'd almost have to be 2 or 3 prongs or something that you could put around the outside of it. So it'd be kind of like if you had like a Theragun or something like that. That Theragun would actually, so yeah, there's really no reason to invent anything. They already have it invented, like one of them Theragun like things. That would probably be, I'm gonna have to get one of those. Oh, I did get a new little toy. This is a cordless sander. Let me put a disc on there and show you what I'm talking about. Are these all ratty and torn? Yes, those are all ratty. Oh, that one looks good. I'll work with that one. Okay, that's screwed in there pretty tight. Oh, dear Lord. There we go. So, if you've ever gotten tired of the cord being in the way or can't reach stuff or whatever else, or in my case, wanting to have a rougher grit of pad on one sander and a smoother grit of pad on another, this is going to be annoying if I have to use a screwdriver for this every time. And it's a 12-volt lithium ion. So that's a cool new toy. All right, so we're going to talk about putting a little bit of yellow in here. Now there's not a whole lot of this mixture left. So I'm going to add it to this one to even further kind of, this is still mixable. So I'm going to add it to this one. Went ahead and, pour what's left of this in here. And this is part of the thing, like you just got to play with stuff, because I would have probably put, I still make decisions that I think, yeah, this looks like this, and then I put it in there, it's like, okay, well, that's definitely not the answer.
You don't need me for it, right?
No.
Okay, so I'm putting my acrylic case together so I don't interrupt it.
All right. So if I put a drop of yellow in there, let's see if I can Whoops, wrong direction. How far down? Oh yeah, check this out. Oops. That may not help. All right. Yep. So the problem is, now I could use a half drop or a smaller drop or something, but that gets so, I mean, this stuff is so concentrated. That's why sometimes if something has a little bit of a yellowish tint to it, I'll just use gold because it kind of gives it that yellowy tint and dirties it up without going like full yellow like this. So it is slightly yellow, and I would say probably sometimes you stick like a half drop or you just touch the end of the bead on the bottle. But now, I think you can see the difference there. It's like, yeah, that's why I screwed up at first, because I'm like, okay, that's got some gold in it, so I put 3 or 4 drops in. I'm like, oh, holy crap, that's way, way, way too much. Because yeah, it does have a yellowy tint, but yeah, that's why color matching sucks sometimes, because it just, yeah, that's got a shade of a tint in it, but you got to figure out how to get the tint in it without. Yeah, and that's the other thing with having it is kind of greenish because it's got the silver and gold and then yellow and then black in it. And so the black actually, instead of just being straight yellow, it makes it a little greenish yellow. So knowing how colors work together too, and that's why I was saying last time, there's a difference between mixing, like using purple and then mixing red and blue to make that specific tone of purple. So it's just weird. So sometimes it's figuring out how to get a tone or a tint or something else without necessarily putting that specific, buddy, you're not helping. What are you doing? Buddy? Storm dog. Hi, buddy. I know. He likes to walk between our legs because then he gets head scratches and neck scratches. So he's always like in the way. So, anywho, I'm probably just going to go ahead and use this because there's no reason to waste this. I can just go on ahead and put this in the bottom of this IQ Tour now that it's all clean and prepped. And shut up. What are you talking about, buddy? So this is all nice and clean and prepped and ready to go. So I'm just going to go on ahead and pour this down in here because it doesn't matter what color it is underneath because it's going to be black or super dark blue on top. So just going to pour that down there. And it really doesn't matter how much I put down the bottom here because if it does crack inside of the hole, we don't really care because the new plug mixture is, I'm either going to drill out the top of it because I have to drill the gloss off the top, or the new plug mixture is going to fill up the crack. So the only cracking we care about is on top. So this is a good place. Thumb holes like this are a good place to bury bad plug or stuff, not bad plug, but just bad color matches. So that's why whenever I'm doing kind of an experiment or something, I always like to have a thumb hole to plug. Hi, buddy. You guys want to go out? Is that what you want? Come on, let's go outside. Having thumb holes like that are a good place to bury bad color matches, so then you're not wasting the plug. And once again, plug cubes. I hate the little plug cubes where people put the extra plug in the little ice, the little ice trays, because those things are just little heat sinks and they cause the plug to cure unevenly, I think. So I think they're bad. That's another thing that, one of the few things that I agreed with the pro shop guy that I work for on. I also agree that plug cubes are stupid. But some places do it to save money, theoretically, because plug is expensive. However, if you're, wasting a half ounce of plug here, a quarter ounce of plug there, or whatever else, you're really not saving yourself that much money. If that's one of those, there's that saying about, passing up a nickel to pick up a penny or something like that. Something like that. If you're worried about the nickel, the quarter's worth of plug material that you're pouring out, you're doing it wrong. All right, so we've got the plug poured on the fingers of the mix. I think that's going to turn out well. We've got the plug mixture poured into the thumb hole, and we've got the thumb hole of the IQ started. I'll be able to pour the top of that. Oh, Riley plus 31 after 7, 250. So he did, yeah, Dylan leading at plus 233 or plus 223 after 7. Dylan's a monster. So, yeah, through 5 of game 8. So, yeah, that's Riley's going to need to do a little bit of work. Unfortunately, we'll still go down and hang out with him anyway. So, that's done. Always clean off the tips of your tint bottles. That helps out quite a bit. And having Q-tips around, I do not have any Q-tips down here. I need Q-tips. But having Q-tips to clean out the inside of the caps. Q-tips clean out the caps, so that there's some of these that I've used quite a bit, and so the caps don't get all like filled with the dye and then it runs all over the place and then you get it all over your fingers and everything else. I have no stuff on my fingers, so all right. And as this has settled a little bit, I think we're still in good shape. Again, it's a little bright. It's a little bright, probably not quite dirty enough, but realistically speaking, once I cut that down and we get the light, the light refraction nonsense or whatever the crap, actually that looks really good. That looks really good. So I'm not mad. So we're going to start pitch plugging the phase 2 now, because I think the hole's dry enough. I do need to get this nonsense out of the bottom of the hole. Some of this stuff got a little trapped when I should have just let the hole dry out first instead of trying to buzz it, because then all this stuff got chalked up and all the dust got chalked up with the water in the bottom of the hole. It's causing a problem. All right. Yeah, probably should have cleaned up that hole while I was at it. Riley is bowling the, there's a regional in McPherson, which is about 50 miles from Wichita. So there's a few of the bowlers that didn't make it on to later rounds in the Wichita Open that are down there bowling it. All right, so this is a little tricky. Probably the best thing to do is to just clear plug when you're doing pitch plugging, because then you really can't see it, especially on a darker ball. However, I'm pissed at how the thumb came out, so I'm going to play with it. And this should be significantly easier because it's more in the blue, or it's, you know, a blue purple mix. I guess it's the same color that was down in the thumb that I was trying to match that ended up looking like crap. Can't see that very well. No, you can kind of see it, actually. It's definitely enough blue. I'm going to use Vice Purple. Actually, I might use Vice Red, because that's, again, that's... There's the red. There we go. All right. So once again, it's harder when it's dull. That's the color that we're trying to match. That's what I've got so far, which is realistically not that far off. It's further away through the camera because what we're looking at, that's purple. That's not, it doesn't, this is one of those really interesting things where it looks completely different through the camera than it does in person. These look actually really close through the camera, but they're not remotely close in person. I just don't know how that works. Because yeah, through the camera, I just go ahead and pour that sucker right now. We call it a wrap. Through the camera though, it's not close. I don't know what the deal is. Now you can maybe see it a little bit better. See how that's a dusky color? And this is, now we can see it better with the light on. So that's kind of a dusky purpley color, and this is brighter blue. It's just crazy how the camera, just turning the light on makes it look different. Because it's like, okay, well that's not that close. If I turn the light off, all of a sudden it's bright blue, and it's like, oh hey, look, that's pretty close. Not so much. So I'm going to add 1 drop of Vice Red, which is probably too much. So I'm going to add a half drop. Very gently dab it. Oh, dear Lord. Keep tilting this the wrong direction. All right. This drop of red has been added. Half drop of red, rather. Sorry. Well, I was hitting it. How does the DNA compare to the gem? Would the DNA replace the gem in a bag? Watch my video. I don't compare the gem necessarily. I don't compare it on the video, but they are not remotely close. Not in any sense of the word. Not anywhere remotely in the same combo. Oh, that's really good, actually. Needs a drop of white. Probably another drop of red. That's really good. The gem is so much chuggier and tankier and heavier rolling, and the DNA, they're very, very different. I mean, it's like comparing the, oh gosh, I don't even know. The gem is so heavy rolling. It's almost like comparing I don't know, a TNT to a phase 2 or something. It's not, or an Omega Crux to a Halo Pearl or something. All right, so that's a little more purpley. Still a little too blue. One more, I should have just added the, all right. Oh, that'd be way too, there's all kinds of things that can affect the color. And because, like, if you, certain balls come out wildly different colors, and because of the color mixes, the color blending, even if they sent you like phase blue, phase purple, and phase red, or phase two purple, phase 2 blue, and phase 2 red, the way that they swirl and intermix, the tones get all over the place. There's just no way to, I mean, I suppose that you could try if you had those specific color mixes, but then it's just way too close. Yeah, the Infinite's a little bit cleaner and sharper, but yeah, realistically speaking, the DNA is a whole lot closer to that than a gem. All right. See, again, I like this smaller stick because there's one tiny little bubble there. And I think you can see what I was talking about earlier about how good this mixture is. There are some little bubbles there, but they just come right to the surface. So you pour it and people talk, well, don't mix too fast, you're trapping bubbles or whatever else. Any bubbles just float right to the surface and come out. Or they float to the surface, get trapped, then you cut them off. So let's see what we've got now. Oh, that's really close. Turn the light off. That's why this ended up too dark, because this is a flatter color, and that's, see, the tone is, I like the tone, but it's just too dark. It needs a drop of white. That's probably what I screwed up last time. However, when you go to add white, it's dangerous territory. So I'm going to add a little half drop, and the way that I do this is I get a bead at the end of this thing. So I got to okay. So get a bead at the end of it, and then I touch it on the surface of the plug so that I get a half drop rather than a full hanging drop. Dear Lord. Try not to bump, and I bump it even harder. All right, that kind of thickened it up a little bit. All right, actually, let's see what we have now here. Still too dark. Probably take a full drop of white or another half drop. Making everybody dizzy and see, I think it's definitely what I did wrong last time. I didn't have any white in there, just to kind of make it a little bit more opaque. Just to keep it from being such a deep color. This kind of washes it out a little bit. Gives it more of a matte look, flatter background, backbone, so to speak. I think it was just a little bit too deep of a color. It may not have been too dark of a color, it's more just too deep. I know that sounds nitpicky, but I mean, obviously you can see I thought it was pretty good going in there, and then it did that to me. So I think we're in a lot better shape this here now. Yep, so that's a whole lot better than it was. The color tone still looks off through the camera, but it looks pretty good in person. It is still a little blue, actually. I think that actually, it comes through the camera well with the light shut off. So I'm gonna add one more drop of red, or one more little half drop. So and by the way, you would want to mix plugs slower than this, but again, this is a pitch plug, so this stuff doesn't matter at all. If it's got some air bubbles in it, nobody cares. If it's, whatever else, nobody really cares. And this isn't that much of a pitch plug either. It's just there's an 1/8 of an inch difference in pitch, not in distance. So, all right, I think the tone's right now. So I think, yep, I would say that tone or that color is correct. I might just add a little bit more white just to, again, because that's still, you can see the difference between, this is such a flat matte color, and this is kind of, it is opaque, but it's a deeper color. So I want to wash it out just a little bit. Question. Is your review of the DNA up yet? Yeah. Yeah, I just put it up about an hour ago, hour and a half. It's up. Sometimes they're for me. Most of the time they're for other people, though. We are, as part of our staff agreement, we're required to give balls away after we're done using them. If we bought them from the company, if we bought them from somewhere else, if we bought them through a private seller, or if it's like an overseas ball or whatever else, we can then turn around and sell them. But if we buy them from the company, we're required to give them away when we're done with them. A lot of people don't. A lot of people just sell them anyway, because they're still not cheap. Everybody thinks you get on staff and you get free balls. That's not what happens. Oh, most likely you're going to barely miss the cut. That sucks. Well, he can hang out with us and eat onion rings. All right. I really like where we're at now. And if you've been, if you're bored enough to have been sticking around through this, this is the kind of things that we kind of go through. This is why I like chasing this stuff around, because it teaches me something. See, having this mistake on the thumb, you know, is going to get me somewhere here. So, yeah, what's free? Yeah, there's definitely nothing free about bowling. I'm going to staff with a bowling company. People want to talk about free stuff. I pay tons and tons more for my stuff than I would if I wasn't on staff. I just pay for it in a different way. All right, this is kind of, I've worked with this long enough. It's ready to set up and do its thing. So I will show you the plugging. You talked to any of the pros tournament this week? Yeah, I kind of have gotten to know several of them through the YouTube thing. I talked to Stu Williams fairly often. Brad Williams, one of my favorite comedians. Fun size, check it out. Brad Miller, rather, is from Kansas City, so he's kind of local anyway, but we got into doing YouTube at the same time, and so we've kind of talked about stuff. Packy from the house got into it and asked me several things earlier. I need to ask him for some tips now because he blew right by me, but he's a pro, so he should have. I know Marshall Kent. I know Belmo a little bit. He talked to Belmo just briefly, but when he's in tournament mode, nobody talks to him. Just a little small talk. Just more or less saying, hey, how are you? Like the videos, stuff like that. But I did talk to Stu. I talked to Brad, talked to Marshall a little bit. Some of the other ones I don't really talk to. I mean, Darren, Tang, Chris Chris Barnes. They all know who I am, of course, but I never really exactly talked to him. AJ Johnson didn't really make it down that close to RN, but I know AJ. So, all right. So here's the tricky part. I've got to make sure that this is super, super level, even whatever else. And especially with the amount of bevel that I put. Well, actually, the amount of bevel I put in here helps kind of hold it. This is one of those things called surface tension, I believe. It's the ability to overfill a hole with a liquid. So, just going to go on ahead and pour this stuff in here. You can see it's a little chunky. I mixed it too long, but again, pitch plug doesn't really matter. I like the color. I like the color, how it turned out better this time. Still not perfect, but better. So, fill it up. Go a little bit more. And then I gotta let it settle just a little bit, because if I keep filling it, it's gradually gonna spread out a little bit. I think I still got several more drops I can put in here. But this is something you can do when you're not moving the hole. In case I haven't explained this yet, you can do this when you are re-drilling in the same place at a different pitch or a different angle without having to full plug the entire thing. Yeah, I can get another drop or two in here. Just give it a second here to make sure it's perfectly level, because I don't want stuff running down the side of the ball. So, let's see if I can. So if you can see, I've got this about as full as you can get it without it overflowing. I am going to put another drop or two in there. But, whoa, I just wanted to look at the background. So this is why you can't fill this is why you have to overfill the ball, because it's a round ball and that is a flat spot. You can't overfill the hole and make the ball still be round. You have to, or you can't just fill up to the top. That's why you have to overfill it and then cut it down so that the ball will still be round. So, this is about as full as I can get it, but I do want to put another drop or two in there because I want it kind of bulging a little bit. I don't want it far enough that it's going to start running down the side of the ball, but I just want to put like another drop or two in there. With as thick as it is, it's pretty easy to control. So I want to work that surface tension thing as hard as I can. That might be a little too much. I didn't want that big of a drop. But I think it'll be okay with as chonky as this stuff is. And I think that surface tension thing is going to work out in our favor here. And with as much bevel as I have on there, it's going to have to break away significantly if it wants to start running down the side of the ball.
How do you indent a ball when you're plugging it?
I don't know what that means.
Durfee says, my old PSO plugged someone's spare ball and he plugged it so poorly that he left a literal indent in the ball.
Oh, yeah. So, hopefully you can see that there. Surface tension is our friend. So that plug is actually sticking out over the top of the ball, but it's not running down the side of the ball yet. Famous last words. But it's not running down the side of the ball yet because of a thing called surface tension. So, but when I get done with this, when I come out here tomorrow, there will be a little crater there.
Maybe that needs to be a short or something just to update.
Well, where'd you see that? Oh, plugged it so poorly you left a literal indent in the ball. Yeah, that's the thing is if you don't. Sometimes what happens is that you don't fill the hole up far enough, and then plug shrinks as it cures, and so then you have a flat spot on the ball, and then if you're a terrible pro shop operator, you don't fix it. So.
Yeah, mistakes happen. Just fix them.
Yeah. What's that, meow? All right. Let's take a look at the color. That's still a little too dark on the color, but again, it is wet. And so that's going to make a difference. Because it's wet and shiny, but I think you can see the tone generally looks pretty good. It's hard to tell because again, that with it being wet and shiny, it looks darker. But I might have the same problem. I might need more white in there. I don't know until it actually cures. Right now it looks too dark, but it's wet and shiny. So if I got the ball wet, you know, it would look darker too. Can you come hold this?
Yeah.
And so far so good. This isn't running down the side of the ball, so that's awesome.
Which in reality, pitch plug, so you're drilling right back into it.
Yeah, it
You're
doesn't
drilling
really
right back
matter.
into it. So this is more just
And-
to get yourself back in shape.
For all you pro shops out there, I'm throwing away this, 10 cents or 15 cents worth of plug. I want to trigger somebody into getting mad. So, if we get the ball wet, it gets darker. So, moral of the story.
And that's just a water bottle for anybody who's watching.
Yeah. Moral of the story, it's really hard to plug a matte finish ball because it doesn't look like what it actually looks like. So anywho, very gently slide this back away from the corner, and we're going to end this thing, go to bed, so that we can go to McPherson tomorrow.
Yeah, the ones that get over, so what he's doing to this phase 2, if anybody just popped in here, that's just a pitch plug.
Yep.
And then this, whoops, that's an actual full plug job. So
yeah, hopefully this is still going to settle just a little bit. But I think that it's going to cool faster than it settles. And so the whole surface tension thing again is going to work out in our favor. And I'm not going to end up with a plug running down the side of the ball. Yeah, that's about as evil. I mean, that's as good as you can do it. And unfortunately, I can't put pictures on. I can't put pictures on YouTube, so I might do a short or something.
Yeah, that's what I was meaning. Yep. When I said something, let's just do a quick short
Oh.
an update first.
So yeah, what I might, so I'll probably go on ahead and take a short video now as soon as I turn this off, and just look at it, and then I'll take a video in the morning, and even just the 8-10 hours or whatever between. Yeah, it's 10 o'clock. So probably the 10 hours between now and when I take the next video, it's gonna be a crater. So, all right, I think this was a fairly productive night. I actually got something done. I did post my DNA and Ruby reviews if you want to go check those out in case you haven't seen those yet. I'm sure I've got plenty of questions waiting for me on those. But thanks everybody for hanging out. We will possibly be back Monday night because we got Monday and Tuesday. There's no show. Yeah, there's no show because we did the show on Monday. So there's no show Monday or Tuesday night. So I'm probably going to be back out here. I've got to finish some of these up. This one has to be done in short order. So I will be back out here messing with this on Monday and Tuesday, possibly even Wednesday. And this one, there's no rush on either of these two, so I will kind of take my time with those. That one needs to be done in fairly short order, though, so we will get to take a look at what that looks like. Now, because I'm full plugging it, I'm going to cut that down before, well, actually, I'm going to leave it alone, and I'm going to halfway plug that. I said I wasn't going to do it, but I decided to do it differently, so I might one-shot it. We'll see.
You're crazy.
Well, it's a thumb hole. It's not like a slug hole. There's a difference, but
Yeah, I know.
yeah, I don't know. I'll figure it out. We'll see what we have time for. That still looks pretty good. I think we are going to end up with a pretty good color match on that once it's all said and done. Probably should have made it just a little bit dirtier, but oh well. So thanks everybody for hanging out. Are there any last questions?
No.
All right. Yep. I think we're good. So once again, check out my videos. I'll probably do another one of these Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. We're going to go watch match play, or I guess the qualifier rounds. The advancer.
And the final.
Well, the advancer rounds. We're going to watch everything for the regional tomorrow. So we will be in McPherson. And that's all I got. So thanks everybody for watching. We will see you next time.